Everybody, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. All right, everybody, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. It is Thursday, it's 2 o'clock, and we're on every single Thursday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time talking about businesses located in the Mansfield, Texas area and the surrounding areas in Texas. And we love to support small business. The whole purpose of the Mansfield Buzz is to bring on businesses to give them time to talk about what they do, answer their top 10 questions that they want us to answer, ask them, and then move from there. We also want to talk to you guys. I'll show you guys where we're at right now. We're on youtube.com. We're at the Mansfield TX Buzz. Please go subscribe. All you have to do is hit that handle at Mansfield TX Buzz in your search engine on YouTube, and you go straight to that station. Click that subscribe button, and then hit that little bell right next to it so you're notified every time we go live on YouTube. We're also Facebook today. If you want to comment, you can do so. And when you do comment, we might be able to show it just like this. So just be prepared. If you do comment and ask a question, we'll try to get to you unless we're too busy and we miss it. Okay. So that happens too, just so you know. And also, welcome Jordan, our other host, Jordan Huff, and then we've got Todd Cowan with Kat3 Mitigation Services today. We're going to be talking to him about water problems in the home, and this is a big subject because this is a big deal and it happens a lot. So let's go down here. But before we do that, Jordan, let's catch everybody up a little bit. We are now officially booked on the Mansfield Buzz through January 30th. I just got all of January loaded up. We're now looking into February of 2025. Just so you folks know, we're still averaging anywhere between 1.5, 2.7 thousand views per 28 days, and we're still in that 29 to 45 watch time hours a month. And with the holidays coming up, I'm sure they'll drop off a little because people get occupied with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's fantastic. And by the way, we will be off next week, just so you know. So go grab an archive. And everybody, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. And right before we get Jordan started asking some questions, we're going to go straight down here. And let me jump this comment back out. And it is time, Jordan, for your new introductory piece, which we're so excited about, called Icebreakers. Here we go. Wow. Jordan. By the way, Todd, George created this. He's a graphics guru guy. This is part of what it's having fun having on the team is he can do all this cool stuff and make us look really good. Thank you, Jordan, for doing that, man.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Good job. Good job.
It's always fun. It's fun when you get to get creative for yourself. And it's like, what'll be fun? It's like, let's break the ice, like literally. But with that said, let's hop into them, right? Icebreakers. So you have some interesting stories for us, right? So one of them is how did you start back in the 90s? What did you do?
Well, I was a tile kitchen and bath guy. And so I noticed here and there that people were calling because they had insurance claims, and that insurance was paying for some of these bathroom remodels that I was doing. And so I started learning what was covered and what wasn't. And then I got really good at having plumbers come in and do plumbers reports and finding areas that were covered by the homeowner's insurance, so they didn't have to pay as much out of pocket for the damage. And it just kind of branched from there. In the early 2000s, I kind of cut my teeth in the black mold scare. The farmers and State Farm and all this stuff that everyone remembers, if you know, that's old enough to remember anyway. and did a lot of work with some different water companies back then. And then through all the mold, and then mold kind of wasn't covered anymore. So everyone fell out of the field. And then we kind of rediscovered water and water med later.
That's fascinating. And you said you were doing kitchen tile, huh?
Kitchen and bath, a lot of bathrooms, a lot of kitchens, pretty much any wet areas. That's the main thing I was doing.
That I know with tile work is the attention to detail on that, right? Like when you see, at least for me, when you walk into a bathroom or a kitchen where they're like the tile work is on point, like you just have those lines or those patterns that just run seamlessly all throughout. There's just this like relaxing thing about it that it's like, man, it's just so zen.
I don't have the patience to cut tile and make it curve and put in places, but that's kind of an art, I think.
I enjoyed it back then because it was something I could do by myself. I didn't have to rely on any other trade or anyone else. I didn't need a helper if I didn't want it. So in construction, when you're small, like a one-man show with a helper, it's hard to find reliable help and everything. So if I had help, I had it. If I didn't, it was fine still, I was still okay.
That's a really good insight, yeah, and that's true. That's one of the few things that you can actually do that with.
Yes.
Well, next up, apparently something big is going to happen soon, right? You got some news for us.
Yes. We are going to have our first grandchild in April.
Yay.
Yes. It will be a girl. And I'm really excited. My oldest daughter, Samantha, is having a baby, which is interesting. It's within a week of her little sister's birthday. So my youngest Millie is 5, and so she will share like a birthday at least week with her niece.
That's cool. Now, do you feel like you're old enough to be a grandpa? Like
most days, yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
I was a young father with my oldest Samantha, and so I'm still in my 40s, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it. She's 28, and so I've been like, come on, and here we are. So we're really excited.
Congratulations. One of my grandkids, my birthday is the same day.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of weird. I get no kudos. She gets it all. That's
my son Bobby had the same birthday as his great grandmother.
That's
wow.
Cool.
That's
so
awesome.
that was really cool. She absolutely loved that when she was still with us.
Yeah.
So I remember my dad was a really strict guy. Always very stern, really strict, really big on rules. And I remember when my niece was born, the switch, it's like somebody flipped a switch. He went from this like borderline scary dude to being like the kindest, most playful human being on earth. And the rest of us were like, what just happened? Like, who is this person? Where's my dad? Because he would just play with her and just like do the goofiest thing with her. It's just like, wow. It was remarkable to see that progression, and it happened so quickly.
Hey, Todd, are they local too? Are they close by where you'll be able to interact with them quite a bit?
Yes. Well, we actually have 2 houses here on our property, and so they live in the back house. So
that's awesome.
I'm really excited. I have all my kids here, and I will have my grandchild here.
Wow.
And so it's nice. They have their own space back there.
Perfect
and,
world.
I'm excited. Some parents are like, they want their kids to go, and I really want mine to stay.
No, I think that keeps us young too. I really do.
Yeah.
Plus, you get to watch them grow up. All right, cool.
That is amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Oh,
hey, and this next one's a pretty big deal, Jordan.
Yes. So your son is making a big step.
Yes, he is. He finished high school early last Christmas time, and he's been at 16, and he's been taking the year to try and figure out what he wanted to do. And he turned 17 last May, and he'll be 18 this May. And he just finished up MEPS and his physical for the Army. Wow. And took his ASFAB, and he's going to leave for boot camp January, February sometime, and become a combat engineer.
Wow.
Awesome. Yay. Now,
we're really excited about that.
was that somebody spawned in a family that's been military before, or is that just something different now? Right.
It's something different.
Right.
My family on my side had a long line of naval history.
Right.
It skipped my generation, and then my oldest daughter, was in the Navy as well.
Gotcha.
And he wanted to do something different. And while he figures out what it is he wants to be, he thought it was going to be something engineering. And so he was happy when he tested out properly for the combat engineer, because it transfers to engineering credits and an engineering degree. And so we're really excited for him.
And there's engineers needed more today than ever, I mean, so that's cool. That is really cool. Maybe get in the rocket business. So,
yeah.
It's right down there on the coast, by the way. All right. Now the fun part, Jordan.
Yes, on to the show. So before I get started with questions, you gave us a little bit of a hint of how you got started in this, right? On the 90s, and you started to see a little bit of the insurance claims, start working with plumbers, and then you talked about the black bone scare. Then people were discovered water, which I find that funny that you say that, but water is such a damaging agent, like especially for houses, what they're made out of and what it can do. So I'm curious, how did you get to this point? Running Kat3, like maybe like a little bit of an abbreviated version of like kind of what brought you to this point.
Well, I was a remodel contractor for a long time, and I did new construction as well, but a lot of remodel is done around damage. Home damage. And so I got calls a lot for water damage. And I was working on a home in Arkansas. And let's just say I was replacing like a slide-in pantry, and I fell through the floor and I splashed into something wet. And this big mosquito swarm came out of it, and it was all septic-y, and it was horrible.
Oh.
And needless to say, the house was pretty much totaled, maxed out on the claim, and we had to mitigate and rebuild this whole place while the couple stayed in it. And it was an older couple, and it was quite a deal. So my wife, Catherine, was an insurance adjuster. And really, the mitigation and the business is her doing. She's the owner. And she had the idea to start, to go into mitigation full time. And because she had the insurance background and I had the construction background. Perfect, and so it just fit perfectly, because I knew absolutely nothing about paperwork, Xactimate, insurance billing, but I knew how to get work done. And I had gone and got certifications. So I had certifications and all this stuff, and it was kind of the perfect match. So we opened it up and we were successful. It just worked. I learned a lot from her because, again, I knew how to get things covered a lot, but as far as billing and insurance protocols and everything, that I knew nothing about. That was all her.
So perfect, Matt. Perfect in the sense of how that works. She can handle that side of it, and you can do what you do best. So that makes for a good business for sure. Awesome.
Right. I'm good with people.
Yeah, you are. And that's true.
That's also important in business. That's fascinating. So the signal sent to you was falling through a floor into a
septic water with mosquito swarm.
It was pretty gross. I mean,
I bet
we went
it was
swimming underneath that place in septic to get it all out. It was bad.
That's crazy. So
with crazy. That said,
wow. Okay. So then I guess whatever. Hopefully nobody's getting to this point. But what should you do when you experience flooding in your home? I mean, I'm assuming ignoring it, it's not going to make it go away. So what are the proper steps?
So the first thing you need to do is you need to get the water or the flooding to stop. Whether it's turning, having a water key and turning off your water. If it's a backup and a sewage backup or something, well, you really need to call a plumber. You just do. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to stop those on your own. And there's a lot of homeowners that don't know how to turn their water off.
No kidding.
So I recommend that everyone go out and buy a water key, a multi-water key, because there's water keys that are slotted. There's ones that are square, and there's ones that take a squared off bit to turn them off. And if you don't have the right one, you're probably not getting it turned off. The old school ones, you can get it with a pair of pliers if it's not seized up. But that's kind of the first step is make sure that you can turn off the water, get it shut off. If you don't, and you don't know how to turn off your water and you can't do it, call the fire department. They'll come out and do it free of charge every time.
That's a great tip. And
Yes, it is. They will. They'll come out and do it free of charge. Our mitigation company will come out and we'll shut it off along with doing the free consult. I'm certain that there's probably lots of mitigation companies that will do that. But first and foremost, most everyone's going to call a plumber. And that's just how that's going to go. I got water everywhere. I don't know what to do. I'm going to call a plumber, and I'm going to Google plumber near me, or I have a magnet on my fridge, or however that's going to go, or a friend of a friend.
Sure.
And then you're going to find the break. You're going to find the problem, the source. And then you're going to really hope it's going to be a coverable source. I mean, if it's a sizable problem. So plumbing reports are really important when it comes to homeowners' claims. They need to read broken pipe, broken cutoff, broken supply line, broken this, broken that, not seeping, not leaking, not, dripping. That's no good. Those are all grounds for denials.
Wow.
So the plumber's reports are very important, and the pictures of the plumbing repair is very important. Next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get it cleaned up. That's when you're going to call a company like us. There's some people, probably a lot of people, that try and handle those things on their own.
Yep.
And they dry it and they say, well, I don't see any more water, and they're just considering it good. That is not the way to do it. Water hides in places. It hides underneath flooring. It hides in walls. It hides everywhere, and it will buckle areas, and it will grow mold. And the mold will spread. It doesn't just contain it to one place. It grows, and mold feeds off of construction material. The moisture that was supplied, damp, dark, in construction material. It eats the back of sheetrock paper. It eats studs. It eats flooring. It eats cabinets. It eats paper off insulation. And then it gets into your air duct because it's nice and moist, and then it blows around, and then it's everywhere.
And everybody gets sick, and they can't figure out why they're nauseated and has headaches, and don't even know they have a mold problem.
Right. It's a real thing. And that's just with standard water. If it's a toilet backup, whole different source. If it's a drain break anywhere in the house, any kind of drain, all those drains tie together.
Yeah.
Okay. All those drains tie together. They all flush into the same source, the sink, everything. So if it's a drain break, it's called Kat3 as well. And that's the kind that contains microbials. You can't just wipe that up. It gets into grout on the floor, and it goes underneath the tile. It has to be removed. You can't clean it. You can't destroy it. It has to be removed. If it gets into wood, you can't clean it off. That wood has to be removed. Sheetrock, carpet padding, floor padding, any kind, underlayment, anywhere. It has to be removed because it contains dangerous microbials that can make you very sick. And you can ask some of my crew that has not worn the proper PPE like I have told them, and how sick they got.
Got sick.
Yes. Especially, God forbid, you get it into a cut. I've seen that happen too. You end up in the hospital weeks later.
So,
Yes, we all change diapers. We all do whatever, as our kids are growing up, but you don't breathe it in and wear it all day, and you disinfect surfaces and everything else. And it's a totally different ballgame. And when those microbials or particulates get sucked up into AC system and blow around, that's bad. The worst we see is when is on pier and beams, when that happens underneath houses, because no one inspects under their houses. They don't know it's floating under there, that pipes are broken. And you're flushing a toilet under your house for a year, and those microbials soak up and wick up into the flooring and all throughout the house. And before you know it, you have mold and growth underneath your walls all the way to the ceiling. We've seen that. We did the fire chief's house on Eagle Mountain Lake, and his was just like that.
Wow.
And he didn't even know it. He just knew him and his wife had been sick for about a year and a half.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to find the problem, and then you're going to call a company. Now, the company needs to be IICRC certified, which is really important. Okay. IICRC, the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, Restoration Certification. They regulate all of the mitigation in the United States. Okay. They're the industry standard, even for insurance companies. Even though they try and combat it, they make reference to the IICRC S500 all of the time. So you need to make sure that your company that you're using for mitigation is certified. IICRC certified. There's different certifications for different things. WRT is for water. the mold restoration contractor is for that. There's an asbestos one. There's fire. There's all over. There's even carpet cleaning. They offer a wide range and a great program, all kinds of programs everywhere to learn and be certified. And then you're going to file a claim, okay, if it's coverable. A lot of people don't know how to file a claim. Our company will help you file the claim.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to interpret policy, so we'll look at your policy, and we'll call, help you call and file the claim, and then it's really up for them to determine. We can't ever guarantee that something's going to be covered, even when we think it should be. We can give you a reasonable guess and base it on other jobs and coverages that we've seen and say, yes, you're probably covered. Most of the time we're going to guess right, but there's those times that we can't guarantee anything 100% because we're not licensed adjusters. We can't be and do what we do. Yeah. So then you're going to file a claim. And then you're going to start the MIT process. It's very important that you start that immediately, the mitigation. It is on the declarations page, the cover of every policy that says the homeowner is responsible for mitigating any and all damages to the home. Now, this is regardless of coverage or not. If they find out that you didn't, they can cancel you.
Wow.
Yes. And if you put it off waiting and you wait a month, I didn't think I needed it, they can cancel you.
Yeah.
Or they can deny your claim, and then they can
definitely make your life hard. Definitely make your life hard. It
Yes.
won't be as simple, right?
So anytime you have any kind of water spill, I'm not talking about a gallon or two on the floor or pet water or something. I mean, I'm talking about a significant amount.
Yeah.
You should call the mitigation company to come check it out.
Right.
That's just the way that goes. Yes.
So Todd, you said you buy the cutoff key, and everybody should have one that has a front yard, right? And know how to cut off the water.
You should get a cutoff key.
If they have a water softener in the garage, do they have a cutoff valve inside on that? Can they cut it off at the water softener, or they still need to turn the key to make sure it's completely blocked?
If you have one of those, some people have water filtration on their house, and they should have a cutoff at that. You should be able to turn it off there, but a lot of people don't. So the main thing you're going to look for is your water box outside
and
in the
cut
ground,
it off. Right,
and just turn it off.
Yep.
And I've seen sometimes when they turn those and it does not shut it off.
Oh, that's not good.
I've seen that before.
That can't be good.
It's time to call the water department.
Yes, it is. So
it's time or the fire department, and they can come out and help you as well.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned also the getting certified people to come in here. One of the things I'm wondering is this something that you let your insurance tell you who to call, or should really you have somebody in your pocket that is has your best interest? Because I don't know. I mean, some insurances are different than others, but some of them definitely have their interest, weighted more on their side.
Sure. Insurance has just changed, and it's constantly changing and evolving. There's a lot of companies that are stopping writing new business,
right.
Even in Texas, and insurance companies are pulling out of Florida and California because of the storms. They just can't afford it anymore. Yep. So what they have done, a lot of them, and it's been over the past probably decade, is they have kind of rallied what they call preferred providers, and their preferred providers, much like the medical industry, will get fed a whole bunch of jobs in order to do things at a cheaper rate and at a reduced amount to save the insurance company dollars. Now, in order to do that, I've seen these contracts. You have to sign a contract that says you will never dry for more than 3 days, regardless of the wet moisture content and regardless of whether it's dry or not after 3 days. There's a lot of stipulations, but if you sign the contracts, you're going to get fed a whole lot of work, right? You're going to do the minimal amount of work to appease the homeowner, and whether it's right or wrong, you're doing it as the insurance company wants you to do it, not as per IICRC standards dictate. And so we don't recommend for any industry, for any claim, to use the insurance company's preferred provider. Find somebody you're comfortable with, whether it's our company or not. Whether it's a roofing company or not, it doesn't really matter. Fire, any of it. And use somebody you are comfortable with, and use your own provider.
Yeah.
There's somebody that's gonna kind of argue and fight for you. That's in your corner.
That makes sense.
Great advice.
You also mentioned, in especially both for safety and part of the insurance contract, you should start mitigating the problem as soon as possible. Does that mean we should try to address the issue even before the adjuster gets there? Do we let them tell us what to do or not to do?
Yes, you should address the issue before an adjuster gets there. I would say 80% of the time, we have mitigated and are done by the time an adjuster shows up at the home or the residence or commercial property to inspect. We build files. We use the Encircle platform, and that gives before pictures, process pictures, moisture readings, moisture mapping, dry logs. I mean, everything that you could need to see what happened before and the whole process through, including all the drying and all the equipment. There's tons of photographs in there, and that way it's going to save them time. But if you wait, they're gonna walk in and a week and a half later and say, well, I really don't see any water because it's all absorbed into everything, and say you really don't have a problem, you're okay, and just wave you on down the road. And
Wow.
No offense, but they're just doing their job. It's what they get paid to do. You need to mitigate ASAP so you don't have all these future problems. I mean, immediately, and then file the claim the next day or whatever it is. And again, we will help you file the claim.
And that makes total sense because, and that's why you were talking about an earlier question, Todd, about making sure you had the right language of what's really going on, right? It was broken pipe or it was a broken, literally have pictures and everything to document that process. Yeah.
Agreed.
Perfect. I mean, anybody should be doing that, right? So,
right.
But they get in a panic. They get panicked, right? I get that.
If an adjuster came back and said, oh, well, you're not covered, you're still going to have to clean it up.
Yeah.
Still going to have to. I mean, you got to do something.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That's true. Plus, also, I get the impression that you're going to show up with better equipment than the adjuster is. And when the adjusters are going to show up and look around, you are, looking a more professional look into what will happen.
Yes, we're taking moisture readings. We're following the water, seeing everywhere it went, and seeing what's going to need to be done. I mean, we're trying to salvage everything we can in the process. Sure. It's not about demoing everything you can out of a house. It's about salvaging everything you can.
Mm-hmm. And so, a little bit on that now too. Then, how long should we wait until we start drying the floor professionally?
Immediately, as soon as you can. We've seen some customers put it off till after the holidays because they have family coming in, and it's like, this is not this, on Kat3 spills. It's like, no, don't do this. And we've seen, we've let some customers know that, this is how this is a common time for things to happen. It seems like, and we will just rack ourselves to death to try and get them back in their home by Christmas.
Sure.
Because that's what everybody wants, put back together by Christmas. And we've pulled it off a few times. It's been really hard. But yeah, I mean, you really need to start drying immediately. The sooner you do things, the less damage you're going to have, the less removal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that big box fans you use and stuff, high speed turbo based fans to really clean to dry out, or is it just I guess what I'm asking is there special fans you can get for drying water faster inside a house, or you just bring a ton of them with you and start plugging them in, right?
So there are air movers and axial fans and stuff that is just directly related to the restoration field, and they're specifically designed to create the maximum CFMs. And it's not about just setting it on the wall, facing the wall. You have to create an air vortex in series. So you're setting all your fans in series, whether they're air movers or axials or whatever they are, and creating a vortex of air to continuously move to dry it. And then in the middle, you're setting up dehues, commercial dehues that remove so many pints per day of moisture, because that air is blowing it around, and then the dehue's sucking it all up. There's a way that you're taught to do it to remove the maximum amount of moisture and dry as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I asked that was it's not just like you bring in a couple fans and turn them on. There's some science to this that make sure it's done right. So yeah, I just
Correct.
wanted to follow that up. That's why they need to call you guys, right? Exactly.
So 3
Exactly.
box fans from Home Depot will not do the job.
No, because
Probably not going to do a lot. Yeah.
No,
That's funny.
not at all.
Insurance, I believe, wants 800 or 800 CFM fans minimum, I believe, somewhere around there.
That's and CFM stands for what?
Centrifugal. Hold on, I'll look at it.
He knows the acronym, and he knows what it means.
Yeah,
I've never heard that on a fan, so I wonder what
it's
it is.
it's a measure of air force.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And I love that, the vortex, like how you're actually getting
Cubic
the
feet per minute.
Cubic feet per minute. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so my whole point, Jordan, was there's a
ton of CFM acronyms. So it's it's how you measure air force, air pressure and force. CFMs and the blowing power of fans.
He knows how to set them up.
That's cool.
That's the bottom line.
And what about the stuff? Do we how do we handle that? Because I can see spills, especially now with I could imagine in open concept houses, your kitchen backs up or something happens in the kitchen, and now your kitchen is part of the living room, that is also part of the dining room, that is also part of everything.
Right. So some companies use pack out companies, some mitigation companies. We do the pack out ourselves. Our guys are trained to pack things out, take care of things, bubble wrap, clean, contents cleaning if it's needed as well, and decide what's good, what's salvageable, what's not, and build a file of what's not salvageable so they can file it with their insurance on their contents, on their personal contents. But the rest of it, we bring in storage pods, on-site storage pods, and we pack everything out into that, just like you're going to move on down the road. And we take great care of it. Of course, we have waivers on certain things like firearms, very expensive jewelry, that kind of things. We tell the customers we need these things removed before our guys get started. The rest of it is carefully packed away on site.
And so you guys take care of all of that?
Yes.
That's amazing. Wow.
And what about tech equipment? Is that a special outside source? Or
the what? I'm sorry?
Do you guys have, what about high tech equipment, computers, TVs? Does that go to is there a special
we try to do what we can to put that in a climate controlled area. It really depends on how long it's going to be stored and what time of year it is. In the wintertime, that's not a big concern. You just pack it really carefully, and you can store that on site. Sure. And there are the times where there's a lot of computer equipment, high tech equipment in the summer times, and we have to make special requests to the insurance company that that equipment goes to climate controlled storage. Okay. And then we remove that to climate controlled storage. And sometimes the customer, we'll get onto that, but sometimes they stay somewhere else during the process and they want that moved there while they're there. That's
a great question. That kind of leads to the next one. Like, what happens if you can't live in your house after the damage, especially with those more nasty?
Do you have a tent? Do you have a tent, Jordan?
So there's yeah, you can stay in a tent out back. There's coverage for ALE, for loss of use coverage. When you have catastrophic events in a home. So always make sure you have the proper amount. Most of them come with a decent amount of loss of use coverage. And so a lot of homeowners don't know this, but when your home is deemed unusable, it's 100 degrees outside and you're going to lose your AC for a significant amount of time. Like, we'll have to remove your air handler and mitigate for a number of days. You lose the ability to cook a meal. You lose the ability to clean up and go to the bathroom. Those right there are loss of use qualifiers right there. Then you qualify for your ALE, your loss of use, and you call up your insurance company and say, hey, we need ALE. And then that's when we have to kind of write a report or let them know this is what we're looking at, minimum 3 months, and then, reevaluate 3 months later if it's done or not. And they will, a lot of them will put you up in suites. Airbnbs are the best. They're a little more expensive, a little less expensive, and will stretch your ALE coverage further. And you also get your own space away from people.
Wow. Yeah.
That's good. What I recommend I recommend going to the suite initially so you can get somewhere quickly and then you can take your time and find a longer term Airbnb closer that will work for you and your family and even pets, things like that. Those
Good.
work really well.
Great.
I like it.
That's great. That's good to know. And especially the different categories that qualify as that. I wouldn't have thought of some of those. So that's really cool. You know, you can't take a shower. It's like, hey, there's a host outside. Go do it.
Right.
But so then after mitigation, who will build it all back? You mentioned some of those spills are particularly problematic. I think they're called Kat3. Is that what you
Yes.
refer to? They're the more catastrophic of all of them, and they get underneath things, so you have to go in, you have to remove it. So there's a bit of like demolition before the cleanup happens, and well, I mean that I'm assuming that's going to leave big holes everywhere. So who builds all that back?
So again, the insurance company has preferred providers. Their adjusters that they send out typically are independent adjusters. They work for multiple agencies, and a lot of them are build back contractors. And so they're writing up an estimate, and then any other build back contractors that you might use, their estimates will typically be a little higher. And so then there's the banter back and forth there. We use an affiliate company, J3 Paint and Drywall and Construction, and they're excellent. I've known Jimmy, the owner, for a number of years, Jimmy and Melissa. They're great, and they come behind us and do all of our rebuilds unless the customer has somebody particular they want to use. And they are used to dealing with the insurance company. We typically bring them in about 50 to 75% through the mitigation so they can start building a file and writing. They need to obtain a separate contract with the customer. Some customers ask, do I need to pay another deductible to them? It's no, just one deductible per claim. And they will write it up, and they will send that into the insurance company and start that song and dance so they can get on it as soon as possible. And at that point, customers, when we get full approval for their build back, can choose to upgrade things, can pick paint colors, those kinds of things above and beyond what insurance is paying to do.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So you can get it back, and then hopefully a little bit better than than it was before it got destroyed. And I'm assuming, well, I mean, I think I kind of know the answer to this, but after everything is done, who moves all the stuff back into the house?
So J3 will typically give us a week heads up from when they'll be done. And Kat3 employees will come back out and do what we call the pack in, put everything back in, place it all back in, hang pictures if necessary, those kinds of things. Most customers kind of want to do their own picture hanging, but we typically go back in, get everything back in the rooms it goes in, unpack the things they want. And yeah, that's how that goes for the finish up.
I gotta say, that's really cool. Like, you guys are really, I can tell you really thought this through as far as like the customer experience, you know, just like you're already going through a difficult time. You're really removing a huge hurdle that is like, you know, just the logistics. I mean, for anybody that's moved, we know how difficult that is. Toss in insurance claim plus, you know, remodel, demolition, yes, remodeling, moving on top of that, like, that's a big deal, because that you're taking a lot off of the plate of people going through a difficult time already.
Well, we've tried. A lot of it has been trial and error, you know, as you go. And, you know, when we started off in mitigation, I went from being a build back contractor to mitigation, and then people wanted build back, and we didn't do build back. And then they had to find their own, you know, people to do that. And some people wanted those things grouped together. And so we did some research and found the best build back contractor we could, that, you know, people that we knew and had great, just had great moral compasses and everything. And that's kind of what it took. And then there was the pack out, and then there was even down to the dumpsters, everything. And we wanted it to be a one-stop shop where they didn't have to worry about anything from A to Z. Now, is this a process where there's never any problems? No, that's not ever going to be true. But they'll always be able to get a hold of their original contractors, their original cleanup crew, and that was us. And so we can pretty much take care of anything they need throughout the process from A to Z. And that was the deal. Yeah.
I imagine a homeowner that's gone through flood or whatever is stressed out to the max, trying to get
Oh
everything
yeah,
done, knowing that you guys are there to kind of help them along the way. They don't have any experience probably knowing any of the steps you take. So I imagine just being kind of the go-between and helping them answer their questions just makes this a real easy process. So I would say in this, Jordan, just up front, experience matters in this industry. Based on what I've heard so far, going through this process over and over, you get really good at what works and what doesn't work. Correct, Todd?
correct. In this industry, there's going to be mistakes, and you just have to learn from your mistakes.
Yep.
And just hope in the long run they're not too costly,
Right.
because everything is always growing and changing, and there are so many points of liability in this field. There just
Yeah.
are. You're responsible for cleaning it up, and then ultimately responsible for everyone's health afterwards. So there just are. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to take care of, and a lot of stressors. We go and we sit with customers while they cry, and we hold their hands while they cry about their house. We've done it with widows. We've done it with elderly people. We've done it with single moms. Couples with brand new babies that can't even hardly afford their house. It doesn't matter. No one is immune from this situation. And there's a lot of companies that will just blow through and say, this is what you need to do. Hurry up and let's go. And spending the necessary time with them, and being willing to sit and hear them and to hear how they feel in the process is very important for the homeowners. Everyone at the end of the day just wants to be heard, in this world. And so sitting with them and seeing them as an individual, not just a job, is very important all the way through the process.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I can tell you from experience, I've been on the receiving end of a company that did just that. Ran through it all. You need to do this, and that, and just leave you with a piece of paper and not even wait for you to respond, and just out the door. And you just like, what just happened? Like, I don't even understand what's going on.
And so look, hey, we've got a guest behind you, Todd.
Oh, I do.
Say hi. Yeah, it's fine. We don't care. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah.
What's your
great.
name?
Super.
This is my youngest.
There you go. Welcome. Hi.
Welcome to the Mansfield bus.
Oh, she's off running.
So I guess, Jordan, the next one I'll pop is really kind of what I'm interested in hearing, because it's got so many moving parts to it, right?
Yeah, so there's the logistics part of it, but then there's always the difficult or the stressful one. I'm assuming probably the most stressful one, right? Like, how do I make sure my bills get paid?
So this is the most stressful one for everybody on all sides.
Yeah.
Especially the homeowner, because ultimately they're signing a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them think, well, it's between you and my insurance company. It's really not. They're on the hook for the bill, and that's just law. Because insurance is not going to sign a contract with you.
Right.
It's not how that goes. So what we have done, well, let me back up. There's a number of companies that will probably go in and mitigate a home and just turn in a bill to the customer and say, you got 30 days to pay, figure it out. And then they have to turn it in and try and argue with their insurance company themselves, pricing and all that kind of stuff. Definitely, probably not the way. It's a way. It's not how we do it. And again, this is where insurance companies will tell you, well, be a preferred provider and you don't ever have that problem. And there's the double-edged sword for that.
Yeah.
What we do,
I bet.
Yeah. So what we do is we have an accounts receivable department, which consists of Sherry Valentine. She is an amazing lady. She is a degreed paralegal and a doctorate of sociology and a sociology professor still. And then she worked as one of the top paralegals on the Philip Morris tobacco case in the later 90s that ran through the early 2000s. She has a lot of experience fighting big business, and she is excellent. So her job is to turn in billing and then argue with the insurance company to make sure that the customer doesn't get stuck with this ginormous bill. And so she takes care of that. Unfortunately, every now and then we have to turn it into our attorneys, and that's how that goes.
Yeah,
that's just part of the insurance business.
Sure.
It just is. But she is very good at her job, and she keeps the money. She keeps the bills paid and flowing. That's her job. And if you don't have somebody to do that, that is experienced with doing that, that knows IICRC guidelines and in defending why things were done, then bless your heart, trying to get paid in this industry. It's just getting that tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I can imagine that's one of the hardest things to do in this industry is getting everybody settled up and making sure that, and having somebody like that doing that process. How cool is that?
I mean, that's a huge advantage.
We need her name and number, Jordan.
No, right?
Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately, businesses that deal with any kind of volume in getting paid have to have a collection agent, and that's just
that's true.
That's just how that goes. But really, her job is to combat the insurance companies, and again, it's fighting for the homeowner, and she's very good at it. And that end of our business would not work at all without our Sherry Valentine.
Good to know.
Yeah, and the fact they have that arrangement speaks.
Another reason to hire Kat3. They got somebody that goes to work on behalf of the client too. So there you go. Awesome.
I mean, you really can tell when you read between the lines, right? The method to the madness is where it really tells you, you have everything in place because you really want to take care of the homeowner. You like from how you handle the case, the fact that you mentioned that you want to listen to the people and how they're feeling, acknowledge their situation, take care of their things, move them, store them correctly, help them through the process. You have somebody on staff that is going to help you like push that along because it's notoriously difficult to deal with insurances. I mean, that to me speaks volumes. So the quality of customer care that you're bringing to the table.
So Jordan, again, I want to, go ahead, Todd.
Again, I will say that I am not a processes person. I am a process implementer. All this, Catherine steers the ship, and she has come up with all of these processes because we had to learn what worked and what didn't work. And she has come up with the processes and spent the time developing the processes, and we have implemented these things, and they work really well.
Fantastic. Yep. Growing. That's just awesome team. Yeah. Hey, so the next question and your final question, Jordan, this is really cool. I'd like to know the answer to this myself.
Yeah. So like what happens if the loss is not covered? I mean, the work still needs to be done, especially certain things that you pointed out are particularly dangerous. So the work has to get done. Sometimes we could be in a fortunate situation where it's not covered. So what happens then?
So most of the time when things aren't covered, it's because of an exclusion. Well, sometimes anyway, it's an exclusion. A lot of the time it's because of things that insurance deems as a maintenance issue, like a failed shower pan. They state that, well, you should have kept your shower caulked, those kinds of things. And if that leaks off into the bathroom, they typically won't cover it. Doesn't mean that won't always cover it. Different policies are different, but typically they call that a maintenance issue. Typically they call a failed wax ring on a toilet a maintenance issue. Well, you should have replaced that wax ring because it's in the homeowner's manual that everyone should pick up their toilet and look at the wax ring underneath it every 3 years, right? I mean,
sure.
Nobody's ever seen that. I mean, nobody knows, right? These maintenance issues that come up. There's certain things like that. The rest of the time, it's for poor coverage. Policies are getting hard. They're getting different. They're starting to exclude water coverage or sign it as an endorsement or only cover it for up to 20 or 30 grand without an endorsement, which in my mind, and I think probably most people's mind, you need coverage for the full amount of the home because water can destroy your entire home. Mm-hmm. But let's say you're not covered, okay? Then you're stuck with one of two things, a couple of choices. Well, paying somebody, it's an expense to mitigate this damage, to take care of it, or try and do it yourself. And that's a do-it-yourselfer project that just goes on and on and on. That might not ever complete. What we offer to our customers, if we find out they don't have coverage or it's not covered, is we offer first off a 20% discount from our standard insurance pricing. Which is going to save you. Usually they're not cheap. I mean, if it's a $20,000-$30,000 mitigation job, it saves you significantly. Right. And then we ask for a down payment, and then we'll do some in-house financing if need be. We try and guide you to some direct financing if that's possible, in credit card payments and those kinds of things, and whatever you can afford. We really do. We make a great effort to do in-house financing, which we've done with a fair amount of customers. Yeah. And what I can tell you is we've had customers that just flat out couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it, $30,000, $40,000 with a mitt because it had destroyed a lot of their home.
Mhm.
And we've had one, let me see, because I don't want to give any names on this, that I just had a heart for, because I was a 19-year-old kid and I bought my first house and I was so proud. And then the plumbing burst and the city came out and shut down the heat that winter. And we were trying to keep a 7-month-old heated with an oven, in a whole house, and all these things happened and I had no money. And so we had a young couple that was kind of like this. I mean, they were working and they had a brand new baby and a house full of mold, and I just wasn't going to let them go without. I just couldn't do it. It just kind of hit the right heartstrings. So we went in, we did it. And then we spent most of a week doing this job, with the crews. And this person happened to be an electrician. And we were doing a commercial warehouse at the time. And I just really traded it out, let them do a small down payment and trade out the rest of the work for us.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's not typically how everything goes.
No.
But at the end of the day, we're all still human and everybody needs some help sometimes. And they did some things for us that we really needed. So it just worked out. It worked out well. Bottom line is you need to review your coverages. Okay. You need to make sure you have full water damage coverage. And you need to have the policy read as to what's covered, what's not. There's a lot of insurance companies that are no longer covering water, or that only cover it up to a certain amount. I have a really good affiliate friend that I recommend. I want to give a shout out to Lori Hernandez Agency, Farmers Insurance Agency. You can call them at 682-324-9400. The first time I went into this agency, they make you feel right at home. And I was just so impressed with Lori Hernandez. She is a wonderful human being and has an amazing staff of ladies, and they really are a family there. And we've gotten calls after hours from them to go and help some of their clients. She answers her phone after hours for her clients when they're having water emergencies or any kind of emergencies, and called our line after hours. So agencies like this impress me, and it's great to know that there's ones that still aren't just they're just not a name, and then they're about actually helping their customers.
Todd, thank you.
Thank you for
go
that.
ahead, Jordan.
Oh, just thanking you for that, because it's good to get somebody. I mean, from like you have the breadth of experience. You've seen a myriad of things, so getting a recommendation from you goes a long way.
Yes, and this is who I recommend locally. They're located in Saginaw. I like Farmers Insurance. I like Farm Bureau. And some you're going to have some decent experiences with several of them. But my favorite is Farmers. You're going to pay a little more for Farmers. You're typically going to pay $30 a month more, which everyone is strained when they buy a house because they've gone over their budget. And so they want to go the cheapest. Do not do that. With Farmers, you will be, their ALE, loss of use, is incredible. You will be in a hotel in a matter of hours. Yes, you can always get a hold of somebody, and their agents and the customer service specialists on the claim side is where I really notice the difference.
I know several Farmers agents, Todd, and I can tell you that they are awesome. They seem like they are ahead of the curve. They understand customer service. They really do. So yeah, I kudos to them. They're great. So guys,
Yes.
I put up the website, which you can go check out, cat3mitigation.com. I highly recommend you go check out Todd and them. Now, Todd, I know we've covered flooding today, but briefly, if you could, there's some other services you guys offer. Can you just run through those really quickly?
Yes, along with water mitigation, we also offer fire mitigation, mold remediation, and asbestos abatement. Along with that, our ancillary services that people use typically on a daily basis are carpet and floor cleaning and ductwork service and cleaning. We take care of any kind of mold or any kind of particulates out of the ductwork, and we actually have a a paired pricing together for ductwork and carpet and flooring together, because it's a good idea to clean them both at the same time.
Wow. That's
really
awesome.
cool. And
Wow.
I do have one last question for you, because we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think for homeowners, it would be important to understand there's definitely a difference between water spills and water spills, right? Like there's kind of level of degree, and definitely some of them are more dangerous than others. What are some of the spills that you would want to tell homeowners that it's a big deal? You could potentially put yourself in danger if you don't take care of it. Like, what are the ones that really need to be taken seriously?
So, well, let's go with what's probably not a big deal first. I've seen a lady overflow her sink because a washcloth fell off in the bathroom, and some go onto the floor. And she was able to just go in there and mop it up. Not a huge deal. If you have a couple fans, throw it on there. Now if it ran for some hours and it went into the bedroom and went, for a while, that's different. But you put a couple of gallons on the floor, you could probably clean that up. Even if it's carpet, you can raise that up and you can put your box fans on it, those kinds of things. When you get water that has been standing on vinyl plank, hardwood laminate is shot. It's gone once that happens. Or carpet, or a lot of carpet, you need to extract that. And a lot of the time, if it's too much water on carpet, it'll delaminate and start coming apart over time, even after you dry it. Dishwasher floods are a big one. That's yucky. You don't want that. Any kind of toilet overflow, really. We've seen backups that go into tubs and that just spill out all into the ground. And I mean, if it's disgusting, it's disgusting. You know what I'm talking about. Hot water lines or hot water spills in a home are the most destructive. They will eat sheetrock quicker than anything in flooring. Something about the heat, what it does, it just makes things come apart, and you'll see your walls start to bow. Even sheetrock, way quicker than cold water. It just makes things fall apart and dissolve. Anything like that. The most common cause, believe it or not, for flooded homes is blown toilet lines. And most people think, I have this steel braided line. Man, those are awesome. They'll last forever, right? Those steel braided lines. Well, the steel part will. It's the plastic piece on the top. That's not steel. And so every time you screw it on and you take it off and screw it on, it expands and contracts. It's no good. And it expands and contracts with heat in the environment around it. So, you replace your toilet, replace those lines. You replace your sink, replace those lines. Hell, at least on the sinks, they still have the sinks, the top of them are steel. They're metal, but not on a toilet. Ask me why, I don't know. Well, most of the time, those little parts coming down out of the toilet that you screw it to are plastic as well. And so those are just plastic pieces. Those are the number one cause for a house flood. Those right there.
Wow.
Those toilet lines, that plastic piece on the steel braided toilet line. I mean, what's the point in having a steel braided line? I don't know if it's not, if the top's
if the joint doesn't, so no big deal. And I was going to say that.
The other things are water heaters, and those are hot water all over the place. And I would say most of the time when any of these happen, nobody's home. And so they come home to water flowing out of their home, or they wake up and step on the floor out of bed and they're standing in water. We had a couple 2 years ago, Super Bowl, call us 5 minutes into the Super Bowl, and we had to rush out to a home, and they looked down and they were in water. And water had a line had blown in the wall and just blown a hole in the wall and flooded the house. Their pressure was too high. At 160 gallons a minute, it should be around 60.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. And it flooded the house thousands of gallons. Instantaneously. So much. So the pressure was so high again, it blew a hole in the wall when the pipe exploded.
It's way too high.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things. But again, if it's small, clean it up. Do the things you need to do, clean it up. The other thing is it's not always water. AC leaks are a big one. The condensation lines back up. In older homes, they're in a closet in the hallway. In those condensation lines dump into a drain in the ground, and those things collapse. And then they back up, and they've been running underneath the flooring, underneath that AC and seeping under the flooring that nobody knows about for a while until you step on it and you're like, man, why is water coming out of the floor? Well, it's been that way for a long time. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
It just hides and it goes in channels and in the walls. The same thing in an attic, and the condensation line gets clogged with lint and breaks and then starts seeping through and finds its way, to places. Those happens all the time in the summer.
Good question, Jordan.
That's good. Thank you for that. There's so many that homeowners will think about, and that's like the hose on the toilet just blew my mind. I just replaced the little bobber thing that stops the toilet because it broke, so the toilet was running. So I just replaced it, but I didn't replace the hose. Like that's still
like a $7 hose.
Yeah, it's worth replacing every couple of years just to be safe, right?
It's going to save you $100,000 in repair.
Yeah, just go turn it off, water, and replace it, and be done with it, and move on. So Todd, thank you.
The valve itself, like it's so easy. It did not occur to me. Wow.
Yep.
Time flies on this show. We've been on an hour. Todd, thank you.
Thank you so much, Hardy. Thank you,
man.
Jordan.
We really appreciate having you. And I put their website here. We'll put a link inside the description where people can actually click under the video, go straight to your website. We will brag about you and push this out. If you will, stay with us for 1 minute after we end it, because we want your device to upload your part of the recording to our server. So sit tight. But anyhow, guys, thank you for listening, watching on the Mansfield Buzz. The archive will be up later tonight. Todd, I'll send you some links. Jordan, thank you for being a great host also. And we are on every Tuesday, but just remember, holidays come up next Thursday. We are not here. Go grab an archive right here on the Mansfield Buzz right behind us. Just go to the YouTube channel, grab one of the better businesses and get to know them and use their service and product. We thank you guys. Y'all have a good day, and we'll see y'all the week after Thanksgiving, December 5th. Y'all have a good day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.